Hello and welcome to Great Western. In this episode, let's take a look at the classic TV show Boon. What is the core of Boon, this legendary TV show starring Michael Elphick and David Daker? Something that often gets lost behind the motorbike, the cowboy hats, and Dean Friedman's iconic country cowboy score is that Boon is a love story. Not a romantic one, but a deep, unbreakable bond between two blokes from Birmingham who've literally been through the fire together. Ken Boon and Harry Crawford were veterans of the West Midlands Fire Service long before the first episode of Boon, which was shown in those dark wintry days of January 1986. The shared history of danger and trust is baked into the show. Harry, played by David Daker, was the perfect foil to Michael Elphick's Ken Boon. Their bickering felt real because it was grounded in genuine affection. You, the viewer, knew that no matter how big the row, they were stuck with each other. It was a kind of marriage. Two single men who chose one another as their constant. The early years established the myth. In Series 1, Ken's business plan was simply anything legal considered, while Harry began his climb through the hotel and hospitality trade. We saw the seeds of the Western cowboy mythology planted early in the show, with the title sequence, the legendary song by Jim Diamond, and Ken Boon buying his own Ponderosa, a patch of land near Kidderminster. By Series 2 and 3, the Western theme was in full gallop. While Harry moved upmarket, Ken leaned into the lone operator life of a private investigator. Now, I've got to be honest here. Boon is a great show, although it doesn't quite have the sharpness of writing that Ballykissangel has. A big favourite of mine, and check out the links below to some of my Ballykissangel retrospectives. In Series 1 of Boon, I loved the ensemble of the staff in the Grand Hotel. It was a bit like Crossroads or something like that. And there was a real lo-fi studio shot feeling to the first series. But then in Series 2 and 3, we go what I call Birmingham cinematic. And the cityscapes of Birmingham are a big theme of the show. Those series were filmed on film, not videotape, and it's a very grand sort of operatic view of the city and the storylines. The trouble is, I found Series 2 and 3 a bit plodding, a bit formulaic, and sometimes it was a bit of a trial to sit through each episode, but I did. Series 2 and 3 were really helped by the character Margaret Daly, who is Ken's on-off love interest, and in Series 3 becomes his business partner in a detective agency. And Amanda Burton is brilliant as Margaret, putting in a very believable and warm performance. And that plants her into the hearts of TV viewers for at least another 15 years. We also have Neil Morrissey's first big role as Rocky, and he becomes a staple of the show from Series 2 right through to the end. For my money, he's a slightly annoying but lovable fixture. Series 4 saw the show move to Nottingham, and things got a bit more lively. I think the scripts got a bit sharper, And there was a bit more of that Series 1 ensemble feel. We had the legendary Bridget Forsyth as Harry's partner in the Dovecote Park Hotel and Spa. I feel the show found its best gear from Series 5 onwards, when the two people, Harry and Ken, who were often doing slightly different things but with interrelated storylines, actually began working together in CBS, Crawford Boon Security, along with Rocky and often Laura, their secretary and budding private investigator. And putting them in the office each day allowed us to see that sort of lived-in friction. So from Series 4 and then into the sort of powerhouse of Series 5, 6 and the closer 7, the dynamic really gets going. We have that real ensemble feel back again, as often everybody is working on pretty much the same storyline per episode. Boon became a staple of British TV, drawing up to 11 million viewers per week to ITV. It was famously family friendly despite its sort of mid-evening slot. I don't recall any on-screen death or sex. It was just entertaining mid-week telly. I certainly remember it well from the 80s, although I certainly didn't watch that many episodes because I tended to focus more on the BBC rather than ITV. But I knew it was a good show, and one of the things that got me watching the whole series again this year is just the fact that I remembered it fondly. Boon became a who's who of British acting. Everyone from Timothy Spall to a very young Daniel Craig passed through the revolving door of guest spots. In its way, Boon, from the very beginning, began to imitate ITV's other powerhouse show, Minder. And many people thought that Boon had been conceived to replace Minder. However, although Minder was due to come to an end, that show had other plans and carried on for another 7 or 8 years. And if you're interested in my overview of Minder, please check out the link to it in the description below. And if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to Great Western. Now, I like music, and this channel is tagged Music, TV, Tech and More. What about the music? Well, apart from the obvious theme tune, which I've mentioned, by Jim Diamond, which actually became a UK top 10 hit. It's a very good song. Boon's really interesting, and I didn't realise this before I started watching every series again this year, but Dean Friedman, who wrote the song You Can Thank Your Lucky Stars, produces a very prominent cowboy country score for this show. There's a particularly good song about He's My Friend, He's My Buddy, Through Thick and Thin. That's obviously about Ken and Harry. And there's a song called Well I Cried, which is sometimes played during key romantic failures in Ken's life. It's well worth checking out, and I'll be looking for MP3s or a good old compact disc if I can find it. If you can find it, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to have copies of that song. Well, that's Boon, but there is a sad postscript to this video. I began watching Boon all through in late April 2026, and I was watching it on ITVX, and as I do, I begin my research, and I was really cheered to hear that David Daker was still with us at the grand old age of 90. Fast forward a couple of months and I've finished Series 7, and while researching the script for this video, I sadly discovered that David Daker had died within days of me beginning to watch the show. As Harry Crawford, David Daker was the best possible foil to Ken's rather difficult and unknowable cowboy. And Harry is my favourite in the show, and he's the character I remember most from the first screenings back in the 1980s. Ambitious, sometimes blunt, but always loyal, Ken provided a more everyman experience for us, the viewer, as we often struggled to understand Ken Boon's obstinate, lonely, drifting existence. Harry Crawford was the 1980s Thatcherite dream made real in his ambition, but he was always grounded and he never forgot his mates. The show finally ended in 1992, although an unfinished episode was, weirdly, screened in 1995. Boon ends very much as it begins, with Ken and Harry looking to the future. Have Ken and Harry finally found lasting love in the last episode of Series 7? And will that love finally separate their kindred spirits emotionally or even geographically? Although it was probably never written as a true, fully formed end to the show, the end of Series 7 is as good as anything else that could have been conceived. Elphick and Daker gave us one of the most authentic depictions of male friendship ever broadcast. They were the engine that ran for 93 episodes. The Texas Ranger and the Grand Hotelier are finally back together now, riding off into that final western sunset as the music fades. Thank you for watching this episode of Great Western, and go and find an episode of Boon to watch tonight. Do it for Harry. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching Great Western, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like this video and consider subscribing, because by doing that you will really encourage me, and there will be further insights into music, TV, tech and much more. Thanks so much. Bye bye.